Rev up your engines!
Well, we've all heard about that chip shortage, making it hard to build cars. They got them sitting for months. Well, now the chip makers are shooting back, and here's the truth about all this chip thing. The real problem is the chips that cars use are dinosaur chips. They're old technology. If you know anything about technology, our cell phones have more computing power than the space shuttle did. It got to be archaic as it aged, right? Well, cars are using these old chips that nobody wants to make. They're very basic. They've been passed 1,000 times over. So the chip manufacturers, hey, they have no interest in making these cheap chips that they don't make much profit on. They're into the more high-tech stuff for phones, for electronics, TVs, whatever. You know, they're putting all their money there where they make a profit. With the car manufacturers, they're still using these old, stupid little chips because they don't want to redesign their cars. To add insult to injury, the car manufacturers just wanted to go on it cheap, so instead of building their own chips, they farmed it out. And now, with coronavirus came in, they said, oh, we're not building the cars. No, we don't need the chips. So the chip manufacturers, they didn't care. They started making for electronics. People are buying all kinds of electronics with the pandemic because they stay at home, they do electronic stuff, right? So now they're stuck with old chips that the companies don't want to make. Then they're whining they can't build their cars. Basically, they need to modernize their cars, what it comes down to. And if you know the Moore's Law, everything doubles in computing power every such a short period of time. Hey, the auto industry's way in the back. These modern chips can do all kinds of things, but the cars aren't set up for that. So they want old technology, kind of like if they had the horse and buggy days, went to gasoline cars, you know? Do you still want buggy whips? No, it's a car, right? Well, they're using buggy whip chips, really. They should modernize it a bit more. And of course, if you know anything about computers, chips and stuff aren't plug and play. They got to be redesigned. The circuit ports have to be redesigned. The automakers don't want to do that, but the chip makers don't want to make these chips so they don't make a profit on it. It just shows if you have a business and you farm things out, maybe you shouldn't farm all that stuff out. Maybe you should build it yourself. Well, here's hilarious when a 2021 Ford Bronco got delivered to a dealership in Canada and it still had a manufacturing computer plugged in the back seat. They'd left it there when they were working on the car. It's bad enough they're having problems with the hoods and roofs. It's a new design. They're even leaving a tools big box, computer box. They didn't even know what it was for. The guys at the dealer said, we got this box here. Now the Canadian dealership, they guessed, they thought, well, this has something to do with programming the functionality of the sunroof and some other stuff, and they were testing it and they forgot to unplug it. I'm sure that machine cost a reasonable amount of money too. Somebody's going to be in trouble in the factory in Detroit. Or I should say Dearborn, Michigan. That's where they make the Broncos. It said RE, and it was an orange box with a bunch of plugs in it. They're checking the quality control of the cars. They build it, and they left the quality control checking machine in the car and delivered it to a dealership in Canada. You can't make this stuff up. Prism 2356 says, I have watered my old dipstick one day and it's gone the next. I got a 1990 Ford Festiva. It runs pretty well, but I saw the old dipstick had water dots. I drove it the next day and there weren't any drops. And the car is a smoke. What do you think's causing this? Old age, there's no doubting that. You probably don't drive it much, right? If you don't drive your car much, you can get oil and all kinds of stuff. You can get water mixed in oil in all kinds of places. Here's a good test, this basically. Start it up. Take it for a trip on the highway for an hour, going 55, 60, whatever, right? That gets the engine up to operating temperature. If there's any water in anything, it will boil it off. Then you find it doesn't come back. I have many customers with cars they don't use much, and they'll get a little oil and water mixed there in the dipstick, or they'll take off the oil cap. They had oil, and they'll see it's water inside and foamy white. If you don't drive a car enough, it will build up. That's why highway driving is good. If you have any water infiltration, it will actually boil out of the engine. Because, of course, the engine oil temperature is much higher than the boiling temperature of water, and it will boil the water out. That's why you want to drive a car on the highway a lot, to get everything cleared out, including your exhaust system. Your exhaust system has water in it because when you burn gasoline, which is hydrogen and carbon in Earth's atmosphere, one of the waste products is water vapor. If you don't drive it much, the water can build up inside and eat your exhaust. You get on the highway, it boils it all out. That's why you really want to drive a car, not just have it sit not doing anything. Mirage says, I have a 2007 Mazda 6, and the transmission is clunking, and it has a bunch of codes, including gear 3 incorrect ratio, gear 4 incorrect ratio, shift solenoid D performance stuck off. The problem with that is that's the same transmission that Ford, it's a Ford transmission. Ford and Mazda have a relationship going. Unfortunately, you got a Mazda 6 with the worst transmission possible. I worked on one a few months ago in Tennessee, and it turns out that that particular year I was working on had 5 separate transmissions available. 4 of them were good and 1 of them stunk. The one that stunk is the one that you have. And the girl bought the car, not knowing anything about cars. She got the same thing. She bought the one that had the transmission that was garbage. There were 4 other choices, and they worked perfectly fine, but not that. From my experience, years of working on these things, when you get those incorrect gear ratio codes, it means the transmission shot. And you mentioned I need a transmission, it's going to cost $6 grand or something. Probably the case. It wouldn't be worth fixing. If you're a gambler, you might try a used one from a junkyard, but of course they're all kind of worn. It might not work at all. That's the unfortunate thing. Now, if you can find a good automatic transmission specialist in your area, and he's willing to look at it and drop the pan, maybe you get lucky and it's stuff like he could remove the valve body and fix that or change the oil. You could give it a try. What the heck? Maybe it could be fixed. But from my experience with those things, you need another transmission with those codes. And you didn't give me the mileage. So next time anybody asks me a question, give me the mileage of your car, because that gives me a lot more information of how I can analyze it, the actual mileage. Because let's say that thing has 200,000 miles. I tell you, I can guarantee you the transmission's going out, because those Ford trannies, and those never last that long. They'll be coming apart by then. Well, the G says, I have strange engine behavior and idle below 1,000 RPM. I got an Audi V8. It runs fine, no check engine codes, but it shakes at idle. It's 600, sometimes go to 800, goes down. The tachometer's stable, but when it starts acting up, the internal cabin lights blink. You can see the voltage going up and down when I push the gas pedal. Let's start with simplicity. Whenever you're working on a car, you want to start simple. You want to work your way up. You got lights flashing on and off. First thing you want to do, check your battery terminals. Make sure they're clean and tight. If they're loose, it's going to do that. Say it's super tight. There's no corrosion anywhere where all the wires plug in. Have the battery load tested. Any mechanic like myself can do it. Auto parts stores do it for free. If your battery's weak, it can do that. Now let's say the battery is okay. Then have the same people check the alternator. If the alternator's weak when you're idling, it doesn't put enough power, it'll make the idle go weird, it'll make the lights blink on and off. The way alternators break first, generally, they break down so at lower speeds they don't charge as much. If your alternator doesn't put out enough electricity at idle, it can do all that. Pray it's something simple like that. You bought an S5 V8 Audi, I would never buy that car used. Never. 12 years old too. Those things are endless money pits. If you value your money, my advice is, if you can fix this little problem, sell it as fast as you can for about what you pay for and get out before the endless money pit of Audi-dom. They all turn into endless money pits, especially the V8s. So much technology and it all breaks down, and the guys that work on them all the time, because they've got machines that even I don't have. They're very expensive to work on. The parts cost a ton. Some of the places charge $180 an hour labor working on them. You bought the wrong vehicle. Hubcopy says, I bought a bottle of Redline fuel system additive 2 years ago, and I found it in my garage behind a box. Is it safe to use on my 2010 Challenger, or should I throw it away? As long as you never used it and didn't open it, go ahead and use it. Redline actually makes excellent cleaning additives. It's a racing company. It's called Redline. As fast as you can go, right? As long as it's sealed, no problem at all. Those bottles are sealed. They have to be sealed by law because they can't pollute the atmosphere, and they would start fires if they leak. So as long as the seal's intact, go ahead and use it. It's not hurt anything at all. They have seals on all those bottles, but if the seal's ripped, anything like that, don't use it. Water vapors in our atmosphere, and all those chemicals will absorb water, and you don't want that. But as long as it was sealed, go ahead and use it. Same thing goes for antifreeze, automatic transmission fluid, whatever. As long as it's not open to the air, it isn't going to hurt anything. Now, gasoline is a different story. It starts to degrade regardless. You got in a gas can, you don't want to keep it too long because it will break down. There's too many additives in gasoline to keep it going, and they start to break down just sitting there over time, but certainly not the cleaner that's sealed in a bottle. Red Bull Honda 33 says, which is the most reliable among these? 2022 Toyota Corolla, 2021 Honda Civic, 2022 Toyota Camry, 2021 Honda Accord, 2021 Toyota RAV4, 2022 Honda CR-V. Well, you've been doing your research. Those are all good vehicles. If I were you, drive them and see which ones you like. And of course, when you're talking about a used one, assuming you're talking about last year's model that are still sitting around, that is probably the best idea money-wise, because if you can get last year's model, they usually have more sales. They're getting the 2022s in, and they want to get rid of the 2021s. You might find a good deal on it, but you pick the best ones. I mean, those, the Corolla, the Civic, the Camry, the Accord, RAV4, and the CR-V, they're all good vehicles. I would say road test them all. Pick the one that you like the most, that you can afford, because they're all good vehicles. You did your research. You didn't have any clunkers. There are no Fiats in there, GMs. There were good vehicles in there. Road test them. See which ones you like. They're all good choices. And if you get last year's model, hey, you probably get a better price on it too. Chad says, I got 2017 Kia. It's burning oil. My first engine blew. Now we're putting a quart every month in. I replaced the PCV valve and a vacuum line. Could it be something other than a motor? No, I'm assuming you put a used motor in. This is why I tell people not to buy those Korean cars. They can say whatever they want. They can advertise all they want, and they advertise like mad. The quality of those engines is poor. They burn oil. A lot of them burn oil. And you just replaced it with a used engine, how you know what kind of shape it's in. You did everything you could, the PCV valve lines and everything. It's just burning oil because it's a Kia. They don't make the engines that well. Their piston rings aren't all that great, and they often burn oil as they age. Plus, you're talking about a used engine. The guys in the junkyards lie all the time. They'll say, oh, that's got 50,000 miles on it, that used engine. It might 250,000 miles. I know a guy ran a junkyard in Houston. All his motors were sitting in a shelf in the back, and they'd say, 82,000 miles, 76,000. I said, well, you got a lot of low mileage engines. He said, Scotty, all these things have 100, 200, 300,000 miles on them. The guy across the street says his have 80 in his junkyard. They'll go over there and buy them. So, well, I like he does. You get a used engine, you got no idea what the lifespan is, and that's just how Kias are, which is why I tell people not to buy them if you want to keep something in the long run. Short term, they're okay. Long run, no, they aren't like Toyotas and Hondas that make much better engines. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.